When I first saw Saitama from One Punch Man, I immediately knew we had something in common, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. So I kept searching, and finally, I found it. Saitama did a daily calisthenics workout, and a pretty brutal one at that. Every day, 7 days a week, he does 100 push-ups. Okay, been there, done that. 100 bodyweight squats. Easy peasy. 100 sit-ups. Okay, but why? And most concerning, a 10-kilometer run every single day. Man, a 10K? That's like an hour of running every day. I don't have time for that. So I knew I'd have to modify this workout if I wanted to train like Saitama. And that is what this video will be all about. How's it going, everybody? I'm Ryan, and this is Minus the Gym, where we learn how to be fit and healthy without relying on a gym membership. And if that sounds like something you're interested in, don't forget the subscribe button is right down below. And if you subscribe, you'll see that I upload weekly great content that will help you on your fitness journey. So let's take a closer look at Saitama's workout routine. He's got 100 push-ups that he starts off with, and then he goes to 100 bodyweight squats, 100 sit-ups, followed by a 10-kilometer run every single day. Now, like what I mentioned before, I'm really not happy with that 10K run every day. I've got a family, I've got a full-time job, I've got a house to keep up on. I don't have time to run a 10K. And that's something that people train for. It's something that you gradually build up your aerobic capacity for. And training for a 10-kilometer run is something you want to do if you're really interested in long-distance running and having a really big aerobic capacity. But I really think that most people are interested in Saitama's workout for the physique. I mean, after all, that's what I'm seeing a lot of on YouTube, people showing the results of doing this kind of workout. If you're interested in losing body fat, you don't have to run a 10K every day. There are far more efficient ways of doing cardio and burning fat, which I'm going to share with you later in this video. But for now, just know that the first modification that I'm making to this routine is I'm removing that 10K. Now let's take a closer look at those resistance exercises. You've got push-ups, squats, and sit-ups. And the first thing I noticed when I looked at that is that you have a pushing exercise, but no pulling exercise to accompany it. The reason why I don't like that is if you're doing lots of pushing, you're going to be working your chest, your triceps, your anterior deltoids, okay? And that's going to end up, shortening those muscles as you strengthen them. But if you're not simultaneously working on your pulling muscles and trying to strengthen those, you can wind up with muscular imbalances. Specifically, with tight internal rotators, you can have your shoulders rounded forward, and that's going to lend to poor posture. This is exactly why when I did the 100 push-ups a day challenge, I also did 100 pull-ups a day. I wanted to do an even mix of push-ups and pull-ups so that I wouldn't have to worry about muscular imbalances. So the next thing I did to modify this workout is I added a pulling exercise. And what I did is I added 50 pull-ups, not 100, because I know from experience that 100 pull-ups a day is not easy, and this routine is already big enough as is. But 50 pull-ups is something that I would be able to do. And keep in mind, if you're going to try this routine yourself, you don't have to do pull-ups. You could do any pulling exercise. Anything that's a lead-up to pull-ups, such as bodyweight rows, also known as Australian pull-ups, would be a great example of a pulling exercise you can substitute for the pull-ups in this routine. Next thing I looked at was the squats. Squats are great, all right, especially body weight, but one thing to mention is that if you're doing 100 body weight squats, that might start to get easy after a while, and that's because your thigh muscles are naturally very strong, okay? They're a lot stronger than your upper body muscles. So if you find that 100 body weight squats is too easy, then you can advance this to, say, hop squats or jump squats, lunges, jumping lunges. There's a whole bunch of different more powerful or more taxing lower body exercises that you can substitute for those body weight squats. Next, let's take a look at the sit-ups. And clearly, I think the One Punch Man writers are not educated in exercise science. I mean, you can tell just by looking at this routine, but sit-ups are a very outdated exercise, and I'm not going to say that they're like horrible or anything, but they're just not the most efficient. In fact, I would recommend if you are going for a six-pack, if a six-pack is one of your goals in doing a routine like this, I would replace sit-ups with crunches. Even though crunches have a pretty bad reputation currently in fitness, Crunches focus on spinal flexion. All right, basically, when you lift your shoulder blades off the floor when you're laying down, that's spinal flexion lifting your shoulder blades up. And that spinal flexion comes purely from the rectus abdominis. That's the six-pack muscles. So if your goal is a six-pack and to develop those muscles, crunches aren't a bad option. They're actually better than sit-ups. But even further, I'm going to recommend doing any other core exercise that you want, or even changing it up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change up the core exercise in this routine. I might do hollow body hold one day if I'm working on my handstand. I might do L-sit progressions too. I might do bicycle crunches, just anything to work my whole core and not just focus on one aspect of it. All right, and how about that 10K that I removed from the routine? And what am I going to do about that? Well, in order to get 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 of any core exercise, and 50 reps of pull-ups, I'm going to do these in a circuit routine. A circuit is when you do one exercise after another without rest, and then you pause, you take a big rest, and you repeat the whole circuit. And the reason why I'm going to do that is there's a cardio aspect to circuits. So I'm essentially replacing the whole 10K thing, that cardio aspect, by doing these as intense circuits. And since a 10K is actually a whole lot of running, in addition to doing these exercises in circuit format for some cardio, I'm also going to add additional running afterwards, but not a whole lot. So I went out to the backyard and I took my strong blocks. And in case you guys aren't familiar with strong blocks, these are awesome. They are yoga blocks that have handles built in. And with the handles, they easily turn into parallettes or push-up grips. So I love how these things are dual purpose, and I've been using them quite a bit. And real quick, a little bit of shameless self-promotion here. I do have a discount code with Base Blocks. If you want to go to their website, you can get 10% off anything on their site with -10, all right? I'll put more info about that in the description down below. So here's the first round of the circuit. I started off with a tucked L-sit hold, aiming for 20 seconds. And the reason why I did a tucked L-sit is because if I did a full L-sit, I don't think I'd be able to hold it for a full 20 seconds. I'm not quite that strong with it yet. So I went for one of the progressions, the tuck, holding it for 20 seconds. And here we go, counting down 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm done with the tucked L-sit. And since I'm doing a circuit, I immediately get in position for the next exercise, which is push-ups. And aiming for 20 reps, because remember we're going for 100 push-ups total, so 5 rounds of 20 reps on these. And one thing I want to mention is when you're doing these, try to go for a good tempo. I'd say like 1 second up, 1 second down is a pretty good tempo, but don't go too fast. If you go too fast, what you end up doing is relying on momentum to get the reps, and then you end up minimizing your time under tension. So to get the most benefit, make sure you control the speed somewhat. You don't go too fast. That's important. Okay, and just finishing up here with my 20th rep, and now I'm going to go straight to the pull-up bar. Now at this point, I'm starting to feel it in my upper body from the L-sit, tuck, and the push-ups. But I go straight to the pull-up bar, get into a hang, and off I go. And remember, I'm going for 10 reps here because we're going just for 50 pull-ups. This is a much more challenging exercise. Notice that I'm going down into a dead hang at the bottom of every pull-up. So I'm going through the full range of motion, keeping a good tempo. And keep in mind, if you can't do 10 reps of pull-ups per set, you could do these as body weight rows, or also known as Australian pull-ups, or any lead-up to pull-ups. And here I am now on the last rep of the pull-ups, finishing that set, and now straight into squats. And it's kind of hard to see at this angle, but my feet are very close together. Okay, I'm doing what's called close squats, because the feet are very close, just a few inches apart. And you may find that these are the easiest exercise to get 20 reps with, because your legs, the thigh muscles are considerably stronger than your upper body muscles. So if you do find that the bodyweight squats are too easy, or they get easy later on, you can always make this harder by doing jump squats or even jumping lunges. I mean, any explosive lower body exercise would do. Now here I'm about to finish up my set of squats, which is the last exercise for the circuit, and then the first round will be done. So here we go, 19 and 20. And now, after every round, I'm going to take about 2 to 3 minutes of rest, so I feel completely rested before the next round. and I'm going to use time lapse to speed up the rest of the workout for you. So here was round 2, pretty much the same as round 1. I didn't have any trouble getting in all the reps, and I took another rest and started round 3. I really started to feel it in round 3. That's when I was really feeling the burn. Round 4, I actually didn't get all the reps on pull-ups. I had to take a short break and finish the pull-ups, and then the same for the 5th round. So overall, a very challenging workout, both for the resistance training aspect and the cardio aspect. Plus, I threw in sprints after doing all of these circuits. Now, like I mentioned earlier in this video, I also added some running at the end of this workout, right after doing all those circuits. And I was quite winded after the circuits. But before I show you what I did, let me explain how you can build up your aerobic capacity safely. What I recommend starting off with is about a 20-minute jog after doing these circuits, if you feel up to it. This is going to establish your aerobic base. And then what you want to do is work on building your aerobic capacity and simply increase your jogging till you're at least 30 minutes of jogging after doing these circuits. Once you've built up your aerobic capacity a little bit and established that aerobic base, then you can start experimenting with what's called HIIT, high intensity interval training. You've probably heard of this before, but a good way to start this out is to do 1 minute of running followed by 2 minutes of walking. All right, and that should be pretty high intensity running. All right, not all out sprints, but you should be running fast and hard. And you just keep repeating that interval, 1 minute run, 2 minute walk, 1 minute run, 2 minute walk for about 20 to 30 minutes, whatever time you were jogging for previously. Then you can start working towards more intense intervals and start building up to 2 minute runs followed by 1 minute walking. So now your low interval is only half the amount of time as the high interval. Then you can work on SMIT, which stands for supramaximal interval training. And a good example of that is sprinting. And that's what I decided to do after these circuits. Basically what I do is I walk in front of my pull-up bar, and that's kind of the starting point for my sprints. I get into a lunge position where I can start off, or you might want to get into a full runner's position, and then I just take off across the yard. I run across my yard as fast as I possibly can. When I reach the other side, I touch the fence and I run right back again as fast as I possibly can. I have no idea how many meters this sprint is. I mean, I just use my backyard and I just run across and back. And I do that at least like 4 or 5 times, but I've gone as many as 10 times. And let me tell you, sprinting, also known as SMIT, supramaximal training, it's when you go all out, right? It's anaerobic training. It's not aerobic exercise anymore, it's anaerobic power training. And when you do that, it really taxes your cardiovascular system, and it puts you in a state of EPOC that's going to help you burn fat for like 24 to 48 hours minimally after your workout. I don't recommend doing this workout 7 days a week. That is absolutely crazy. All right, if you're really doing this many reps, like 100 reps of push-ups, 50 pull-ups, etc., and you're running on top of it, you're going to want to rest. I recommend starting off with about 3 or 4 times a week, building up to 5 or 6 max. All right, I actually think 5 times a week would be a good amount, but absolute max would be 6. You need at least 1 day of rest. I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, everybody, and say if you do a workout like this 7 days a week, you're not going to get good results. Your body's not going to be recovering. So make sure you cut it off at about, I'd say 5 days a week would be a good point, and see what your results are like then. Lastly, if you want to make this routine progressive in nature, you could always change up the exercises to make them a little harder, just harder variations of say push-ups or harder variations of squats, etc. I think I mentioned that a little bit before about the squats. But another thing you can do is increase the volume. So once 100 reps of any of these exercises starts to get easy, you can increase your target to say 110 reps or 120 reps. More volume will yield more results, okay? That's one way of being progressive, but another way you can do this is by doing the same amount of work, the same routine, but in less time. Honestly, this routine was pretty challenging for me, and I think I'm gonna stick with it for a while. I might do it for the next 3 weeks or so and see what kind of results I get. I think it's gonna help me shed some of the extra body fat I have because it's just really taxing on the cardio. That is my rendition of Saitama's workout. I know it's nothing like his original routine. There's no 10K and I'm doing circuits and I added pulling, but you know what? That is how I can adapt it to my, my lifestyle and my schedule. And if you guys are familiar with my beginner routine, that you may have seen on my channel, it's actually very similar. It's 4 exercises done in a circuit. It's just more volume, right? It's a push, a pull, a core exercise, and a squat done in a circuit. And don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, if you found it helpful. That really helps me out when you hit that thumbs up button. And maybe share it on social media too if you think your friends would enjoy it. All right, thanks so much guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.